Welcome back, Helldivers. I think many people are aware of the meta, specifically the railgun and the shield backpack, which unlock at level 20 in Helldivers. And they are very strong in the endgame, but what if you are not at level 20 yet? What if your friends have got the game before you and they are dragging you through the hardest difficulty in the game, which is the Helldivers difficulty, and you don't have a railgun and you don't have a shield backpack? What can you use instead? Or maybe you're just trying to level up. What should you be prioritizing before you get to level 20? Or maybe you're just like myself and you're finding the railgun is getting a little bit repetitive because it is the solution to almost everything. Well, the good news is there are some incredibly strong stratagems at level 5 or below. So I challenged myself, could I do a Helldivers difficulty using stratagems that were only level 5 or below? I did some match-made ones with random players. Nobody kicked me, by the way. I know there was some rumblings of players kicking other players that weren't using meta gear. I did this on stream. Wasn't kicked at all, using literally level 5 stratagems. And I also did some with my community, and this gear essentially carried me through the whole of a Helldivers difficulty. So you might see some of that footage in the background, and let me talk you through this build. Oh, and by the way, this is for fighting the bugs. The bots, the automatons, are different. They are much harder in my opinion, especially on Helldivers. So this build is specific for fighting the bugs. And also I'm going to talk about towards the end, the weapons and armor that will really help you get through harder content. I'll leave everything in the chapters down below so you can skip ahead if you like as well. Right, my first level 5 stratagem is the grenade launcher. I forgot that this thing unlocks so early, and that's because it is above S tier. It is God tier as a stratagem. You can clear light and medium enemies incredibly easily. You can use it on bug holes. You can basically close bug nests all by yourself, even on Helldiver difficulty, because you can clear them so quickly. You can also contribute to your team by clearing objectives very quickly. For example, when you have to destroy eggs, the grenade launcher is a great use for that as well. You can do some damage to heavily armored enemies, like the chargers. If you can get behind them, you can do some pretty decent damage with the grenade launcher on their squishy parts. And when you blow up their squishy part, they actually will bleed out. So you can deal with chargers. Of course, you can't deal with them head on like you can with a railgun by shooting out their front legs. I think you can ricochet the grenades off the ground to hit them underneath. Maybe. I'm not super competent at doing it. I'd rather just wait for them to charge and then get behind them, but it's probably a possibility. Bile Titans, you can contribute to your team as well by shooting their stomachs, and when you blow them up, and it's actually really quick, you can blow up their stomachs with the grenade launcher, you'll stop them spewing, and this will contribute to your team because they will no longer be able to hit your team with that spew and slow them down and pin them down. And they'll have to get into like a real close distance to do like their stomp attack. So that's really nice as well. In the end, the grenade launcher has really good utility. You can use it for objectives, and you can use it to basically clear all the small enemies and then sort of pester the heavies. Like you can kind of, you can take down charges, and you can kind of pester Bile Titans by removing one of their attacks. Right, my next pick, stratagem number 2, I like to go for the supply backpack. You unlock this at level 3. And when you pair this with the grenade launcher, you basically never run out of ammo. Remember that points of interest also has ammo, and when you pick them up, you refill your grenade launcher. You now also have a supply backpack, which you can give supplies to yourself. You press 5 on keyboard, it will give you supplies. You press down the D-pad, and that will, on controller, and that will also give you supplies. And then on top of just finding ammo, your supply backpack, you also have your normal refill supply that you can call in as well. And yeah, you essentially pairing this with grenade launcher, you use your grenade launcher as your primary and just spam nades, resupply yourself. This makes you like a ad clearing, a light medium enemy clearing machine, and just very valuable for your team if you're doing higher level content. And the great thing is with the supply backpack, you can obviously give supplies to your team as well. So you're contributing in that way too. if you take anything away from this video, the combination of the grenade launcher and the supply backpack is god tier and will take you from level 0 all the way to level 20, no problemo. Right, my third stratagem. Now, of course, there is some preference here, but when you look at what options are available to you between level 0 and level 5, I think the best option is the Eagle Cluster Bomb. I think it's good to get used to Eagle Strikes because there are some really useful level ups in your ship modules that make Eagle Strikes even more powerful. The cluster bombs have this massive spread to them. They take out a lot of smaller enemies very quickly. Of course, the downside of the Eagle Cluster Bomb for anyone who's used them is you've probably killed many teammates many times using Eagle Cluster Bombs. But once you get a handle on how to use them and when to use them, you are really now specializing in ad clear. Oh god, I feel like I'm playing a Destiny raid. I'm on ad clear. Between a grenade launcher, supply backpack, and cluster bombs, you are just wiping the field and getting rid of all those small, medium enemies very, very quickly. And then hopefully, if you're running Helldivers or randoms or all your friends, they are dealing with the heavies because they're likely running the railgun. Right, so now for the final stratagem slot, and this may surprise people. And it also depends on what your team composition looks like. If you're running with friends who are dragging you through a hell dive activity, or if you're running with randoms, and it depends on what their composition is. If they all are running railguns, you don't really need to have to worry about heavies. Well, you shouldn't. Sometimes when you play with randoms, they might all have railguns, but you may be not sure on how effective and cohesive you might be as a team, so you might want to do this as well. And what I do is have an expendable anti-tank. This thing is so powerful. I prefer it over the recoilless rockets. And what I do is I'm obviously running around with the grenade launcher and the supply backpack, but when a heavy pops in, when you see a Bile Titan or a Charger causing your team a bit of chaos, you drop down, you drop this in, you pick up the rocket, you shoot 2 off, and then you pick up your grenade launcher and you keep going. And the thing is, this respawns every 70 seconds. I literally have it whenever I need it. And you just got to get used to the idea of dropping it in and planning your positioning a little bit better. You drop it in when you need it. You pick up both rockets, you fire them off, you pick up your grenade launcher, and you just keep running and gunning like that. 2 shots to a Bile Titan's face, and you'll kill it. 1 shot to a Charger's leg will take off the armor, and then you can use your primary to take it down. I think the expendable anti-tank is just incredibly powerful. The cooldown is a big portion of that. It does just do huge amounts of damage as well. And the thing is, it doesn't take up your backpack slot, right? You just call it down when you need it, you blow your load, and then you pick back up your grenade launcher and you keep on running. Like I said, if your entire team has railguns, you probably don't need to do this. But I found when I was running with randoms, I like to have this as a backup. Right, let's talk weapons and armor, because I think this is the final sort of puzzle piece for this whole build working together. And if you haven't really done a lot of Helldiver missions, you're about to find out how annoying hunters are. The smaller enemy type that when they hit you, they stagger you. I don't know if it technically counts as a slow. I have to watch the footage back whether you get the slow debuff or not. But what they do is they jump on you, they hit you, they stagger you. Stalkers are obviously incredibly annoying too. They're the invis enemies that will sneak up on you and just take your face off almost immediately. And the reason why this shield generator is such a strong perk or strong stratagem in the Helldive difficulty is it blocks these moves. It blocks melee, and it blocks some of these moves that cause crowd control, that cause you to be slowed or staggered, and allows you to just get away. And if you're not level 20 and you don't have the shield generator, what you'll find is probably how you die most of the time is it won't be to a Charger or be to a Bile Titan. Well, it might be. What will happen first is these little guys will jump on you, they'll stagger you, or the Stalker will knock you back, and then a Charger will run you over, or a Bile Titan will spit on you, and you'll be finished, okay? Or you'll get mobbed by all the other enemies. And so what I would prioritize is firstly getting light armor. This has better speed and has better stamina regeneration, allowing you to run away and not get caught by the bugs as often. You can get one on page 1 of the battle pass, or you could try nab it in the superstore if it's in rotation. I'm not too concerned about the armor mods for this video itself. Just make sure you try to get yourself a light armor set. Now, of course, at the time of recording this, the armor is still bugged and heavy doesn't actually give you the heavy armor benefits. So light armor is still the best armor to run because of the speed and the stamina benefits you get for it. So get yourself some light armor, and then I would not overlook one-handed weapons. Whether that is your primary or your secondary. I personally really love on page 2 the Redeemer, like the machine pistol, and on page 3 the Defender is definitely end game worthy. If you can get those weapons, I would prioritize getting them. And so what happens is this build becomes this. You have a grenade launcher, you have a supply backpack, you just spam grenades and just light up the field. You use your cluster bombs if you need to, if things start to get a bit hairy. If a heavy comes in, a Bile Titan or a Charger, you drop down your anti-tank, you take them out. And then if things start to get really troublesome and you start getting chased, you switch to your one-handed weapon, whether that is your primary or your secondary. Make sure your reticle is turned to always on. I'll show that on screen now. And you just shoot behind yourself so you don't get caught up in all the enemies slowing you down. And this is how I adjust for not having the shield generation backpack. When things start getting a little bit hairy, you start running and you shoot behind yourself with the one-handed weapons. And then when you've got a little bit more space, you go back to your grenade launcher, you clear them out. A heavy comes along, you go back to your anti-tank and you repeat that. This is a super fun build. I actually think I prefer running it now over railgun and a shield generation backpack. It is just like, you're always going to be on top of the leaderboard when it comes to kills, which you should be because you're kind of prioritizing wiping all the small and medium enemies. But I also think you can contribute to destroying heavies with your anti-tank, and it's quite fun. Man, it just feels good, the anti-tank. Shooting one rocket then chucking the tube is so nice. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this video and you'd like to support the channel and cannot think of a comment, you can leave the word grenade launcher. It's got to be grenade launcher. It is S tier, God tier for a level 5 stratagem. As usual, it's been a pleasure. This is Myelin Games. Peace.